So this past weekend, from Thursday to Sunday, I was in Michigan. I took a flight with two of my friends to go see one of my other friends in Michigan, and it was an awesome trip. I had a great time. Michigan's a beautiful state. We had some good food, watched some good soccer games, had a good time. I got to check out like one of the art museums in the area. So overall, really fantastic trip, I gotta say. Something that came up during the trip was actually our return flight. So, to give you an idea, we took a velo and we were seated on the right side of the plane. Me and my two other friends that flew out. I had the window seat in one of the aisles, and a seat over, my friend had the aisle seat. And then my other friend, not my third, my second friend, he had the middle seat, but not in our row. He had it in the seat in front of where we didn't know who was gonna sit there. So my friend's on the aisle, I'm at the window, and then my other friend is in the middle seat, a row in front of us. And I was joking with my friend on the aisle seat. Yo, dude, I'm really hoping we don't get some like stinky chud sitting in between us on the flight, because I just don't want to deal with that shit. Trying to go home, even though it'll only be like an hour. I just don't want to have some, obese fat ass sitting in between us because it's a cramped flight. It's a velo, and we're sitting down in our seats. We're waiting for find it. We're seated. We don't know who this third person is yet. We're waiting to. By the way, side tangent, bro. At the Detroit airport, a velo, they like check your bags, like in terms of like the size when you're boarding. Like if your bag size is too big, they make you like shrink it. And so before getting on this flight, I had to like take clothes out of my bag to give to my friend's sister who was flying with us, and put in her suitcase. I had to like close the clips on the side of my bag and like tighten them. I was like trying to shrink my bag down. Thankfully, the one of the flight attendants, or not flight attendants, but one of the ladies working the desk, she was looking out for me because the guy who was like doing the bag sizing was like, "Oh no, you gotta make sure the bag size fits. You gotta make sure the bag size fits." Like he was a bit of a tweaker, honestly. He was, or maybe a little, I don't know, on the spectrum about it. No offense to him. I know he's trying to do his job, but at the same time, I'm like, bro, you don't get paid enough to do what you're doing right now to us. So this lady who was watching this, what's happening, she basically says to our group after I like size my bag down a little bit, she's like, "This group is good, they can go." And I knew she was looking out for me, so I gave her a fist bump and said thank you on the boarding on the flight. Anyways, side tangent over. A velo checking bags is like ridiculous, but anyways, so my friend and I are seated. The space in between us is empty. I'm sitting on the window seat. My friend's on the aisle seat. I'm praying to God, if he's real, that I don't get some stinky chud. And lo and behold, an absolute baddie sits down in between us. And she was probably one of the prettiest girls I've ever seen in my life. This girl had a beautiful face, blonde. Oh my God, I like, couldn't believe it. And I think one of the flight attendants couldn't believe it either because as she sat down, this guy, he like took my bag for me. He was so nice, but he was also really funny. He said something to the effect of like, "Oh, and you guys have a pretty girl sitting in between you two. Be careful because her father's not around. Otherwise, like we'll have to get in touch or something like that." Like basically saying like, don't be up to no good. And I, I laughed. I said something like, "Oh, I'll try" or whatever. Like, and a bunch of people are laughing. I forget exactly what he said, but it was so funny. And but after he makes that joke, and like she laughed at it, but after he makes that joke, now I'm feeling awkward because it's like, oh shit, this guy just acknowledged that this is probably like the prettiest girl on the flight that I've seen, and I'm wondering, okay, like I do want to talk to this girl, but what the hell do I say? And so I just decide to bide my time. You know, taxiing. We start taxiing. We're moving up on the runway, and then we're taking off, and I'm fighting for my life. I'm like praying. I'm praying that we don't blow up or crash or something on takeoff, because my least favorite part about flying is taking off and landing. So I'm praying. We successfully take off. We successfully reach our elevation, and they make an announcement. Okay, we've reached our elevation, and you now have an hour and 9-minute flight. So enjoy. And a minute later, I like glance at this girl's phone, and I see that she's listening to a Kanye song from his Ye album. I forget what the song was called, but it was a good one. And I said, "Oh, that's a really good song." And we proceeded to talk the entire flight. The entire hour and like 10 minutes, basically. We were talking the whole time. We're going back and forth. I find out like she's from Michigan. She's attending a university in my state. We're going over, like, we're asking each other about like music and what we like to do, hiking, right? And she's asking me questions. I'm asking her questions. And it's just overall a really good conversation. It was probably the best conversation I've had with a girl as hot as that. Let me put it that way. So as she's getting off the flight, like after we land, our plane lands. She's getting ready to go. I'm getting ready to get up too. And she asked me, what am I doing for 4th of July? So I'm like explaining my plans to her, going to see some fireworks and whatnot. And then I ask her what she's doing. She tells me that she's going to be in Michigan for something. I forget what. But she's leaving on the 3rd. She gets up and says, "Oh, nice to meet you." And I say, "Nice to meet you as well." And she gets off the plane. I was stuck waiting for my bag, because she gets off on the rear of the plane, because they opened up the rear of the plane for us. But my bag is like further up a couple of seats. So she gets off, and now I'm stuck waiting there. And my friend who was seated in the row in front of me is like eyeing me, because he's like, "Bro, like, I gotta talk to you now." When like you're talking to a really good looking girl, and your homies want to like say something about it to you, like make a joke or tease you a little bit. So he's waiting to say something as we're waiting for people to get off so I can go get my bag. Anyways, eventually we get my bag. We get off the plane, and my friends are like, "Oh yeah, you were talking for like the entire flight." My friend who was sitting in front of us, he was sitting right in front of this girl. He's like, "Bro, you weren't letting me sleep, bro. I was trying to sleep. You guys were just yapping the whole time. When's the date?" And I tell him, "Dude, I didn't get her number." And he says, "Why didn't you do that? You should have gotten her number." I'm like, "Yeah, I should have." And so then I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I find her here, like at the airport, before we get up and go, I'm asking her for her number, no exceptions. And fortunately, I find her. I see her waiting, because I knew she was like trying to get a lift, a ride from Lyft. And so I go up to her and I say, "Hey, I really enjoy talking." But keep in mind, I know her name. I said her name, but I'm not saying it on here. I say, "Hey, I really enjoy talking with you. Have you been to my town?" Because she had said that I think she had said that she hadn't been to my part of like where I lived before. And it's about 40 minutes from her. So I was like, "Hey, like, you haven't been to my town, right?" She's like, "No, I haven't." So I said, "I'd love to invite you out sometime. Uh, you know, what would these days work, and what time do you get out of work?" And she said, "Okay, I get out of work at this time." So I'm like, "Okay, so how about Tuesday, Wednesday at this time? Would this work for you?" She says, "Yeah, I'm so excited. Awesome." And so I get her number, and we say goodbye. I like wave goodbye to her, and then pack it up and dip. I'm talking in the car, like I had separated from my friends, so when I get in the car, they're like, "Oh, did you get the number?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got the number. I'll probably text her like tomorrow or something." And my friend's like, "Nah, text her tonight, bro. Like, let her know that you appreciate the convo." And I'm like, "Oh, you know what? That's really smart. That's like a really like polite and sweet thing to do to really show that I have interest. Like I'm showing interest, right, by doing that." I mean, that's not the only reason why I did want to tell her like, hey, that was a really good convo, but I'm also trying to, get the dominoes falling, so to speak. And so I text her that evening, just a little before 8. I say, hey, I really enjoyed chatting with you on the flight. I'd love to invite you out to my town on Tuesday at this time. Does that work for you? I thought I was being very courteous and polite and sweet about it. And I don't get a reply before I go to bed, so that's fine. Like, she told me that she had things to do, like she had to clean her room or something, and I figured, yeah, okay, she probably wants to act like she's not as interested. Whatever, it's okay. So I go to bed. I wake up the next day, and I'm at work. It's halfway through the day, and I was like, yeah, she would have replied to me by now. I'm getting ghosted. And sure enough, I got ghosted by this girl. And to be honest, I'm like totally cool with it. Like, it's cool. It's totally cool. No worries. And I know the old me would have been beaten up over this, because this is literally like one of the most beautiful girls I've ever met in my life and had the pleasure of having a conversation with for over an hour. But I'm not like beaten up over this. Like, I would have, like, old me would have been beaten up over it. Don't get me wrong. New me, not beaten up over it. And the reason why is because if you get ghosted, guys, or ladies, in case there's any ladies watching this, it just means that the person wasn't for you. You know, at the end of the day, if somebody's ghosting you, it means that they cannot communicate, and they have their own problems or issues or something going on in their life. And if they can't, if they can't give you respect by just, responding to you and just, either saying like, hey, sorry, I'm actually not interested, or, at least like being okay with communicating why they don't want to go out with you, actually, you know, if you somehow managed to get a date with them, you probably would find out at some point down the line that they were going to stress you out or cause you problems in a different way. It's one of those things where, like, dude, I had such a good guys, think about it this way. I had a good conversation with her. We spoke for the entire hour and 10 minutes. And then when I hit her up, I was like very, very polite and sweet about it, right? Like, I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I played the game of my life, right? I shot my shot. I threw the ball in her court, and she didn't pick it up, and that's okay, because I don't take ghosting or rejection personally anymore, because ghosting and rejection are not a reflection of my or your self-worth. Okay? Like, I want to make that clear. Whenever I've been ghosted or rejected, I used to take it personally, because rejection's a hurtful thing. It really is. But it's hurtful when you take it personally. It's hurtful when you take like someone rejecting you as a sign of like your worth and value in the world, and that's not the case, okay? So I know I said already, but basically I'm grateful when I get ghosted now, because it means I'm not wasting my time. It means I'm not being led around or being fooled, right? Like, imagine if this girl actually went on a date with me, and then we were going out for a little bit, and then I found out, oh, like, she actually had a man or some kind of situationship going on, rather than she has that going on now, but she's just not going to reply to me in the first place. Like, sweet, did me a favor. I'm not emotionally invested, right? Um, Now the thing is that it sucks that ghosting is the norm. And I think Gen Z, like our generation, is, we're uniquely set up to be like, it's socially acceptable for us to do this behavior, because we grew up in like this digital age where whenever we sent message, like, we communicated basically digitally, like online. So what that means is you can, edit, delete, or not respond at all to messages, right? You don't have to, and you don't have to see the other person's face when you do that. Whereas back in the day, if you wanted to reject somebody or not have a conversation with them, you had to tell them that, you had to communicate that, and then see their reaction and deal with the consequences of that. So, while ghosting is definitely disrespectful and we should honestly not, it shouldn't be acceptable. Like, quite honestly, we should put people on blast who ghost. That's not going to be the case. And quite honestly, that's okay, because it just because it happens, it tells you where to channel your energy into. It tells you where to channel your focus into and the people to channel it into, right? And at the end of the day, what it really means is that you need to focus on yourself and keep it pushing. Like, don't give your energy away and your investment away to other people, because, at the end of the day, you are the person that you're going to always be with is yourself, right? You're always going to be with yourself. So take that emotional energy, that focus, and channel it into yourself, which means like your goals, your life, right? And keep going. And a big point that, some people like Scott Galloway, who I really respect, have made is to be successful, not just with women, but with opportunities and anything in life, you have to be willing to eat the most rejection. The people who can eat the most rejection are the ones who are going to be able to be the most successful. Part of that is because it leads to perseverance, and it also has taught me, like in this case myself, to not take things personally. And the great news about all of this, like this whole interaction, is that I can have a conversation with just an absolutely gorgeous girl, not make a fool of myself for an hour plus, and get the number. Even if they don't follow through, it shows that I can get through those steps, right? So if I can do that, that means I can repeat that. And so then all it takes is that one person who in the future will not flake or ghost on me because, they're actually interested or don't have their own problems, or are able to communicate, right? And so the point I really want to make at the end of the day to everybody is, and especially guys, because I think we probably get ghosted the most, is you have to play your side of the game, right? And you have to learn how to play it well. But just like in sports, you can play like a perfect game and still lose the match, right? So go into it, go into talking not just to women but people generally, for the process and not the outcome. Don't go into interactions thinking like, what can I get out of this at the end of it? Go into it for, I'm going to take the risk of trying to talk with somebody, connect with somebody, have a conversation with somebody, and seeing whether it goes well or not. And if it doesn't, it's not a reflection of my self-worth. It's not a reflection of who I am as a person. It just didn't go well because this person can't click with me, and that's okay. Not everyone is for you. Not everyone is for me, which is actually a good thing, because if we were for everybody, then we wouldn't be for ourselves. You know what I mean? So go and be process oriented, not outcome oriented. I might make a video in the future about that. And yeah, take the risk, throw the ball in her court, and eventually you'll find someone who reciprocates your shot. So that's all I wanted to leave off with today. To anybody who feels disappointed or dejected after they get ghosted, it's like, bro, don't. Like, process over outcome, okay? Focus on the process, not the outcome, and things will work out for you. Because I know that even though I'm not where I want to be right now, they will work out for me. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a like or subscribe, and have a great weekend. Peace.